Hi, I'm Chantra Powell, and I'm the Proven Not Perfect podcast host and a best-selling author on Amazon. Do any of these words call out to you? Drive, ambition, doing, leading, creating. These words call many of us, and sometimes to heroic impact. This is all good until we forget about our own self and our own self needs, mainly care. My Village of All-Stars, they not only command position, but they command influence. Well, there's always a backstory. I'm myself, Chantra Powell. I've had to put myself on the sideline a few times, but I'm still in the game. I'm staying in the game. The only thing different about me is that I'm proven not perfect. Enjoy. My guest, Cotrenia Hood, is CEO and founder of Bleu. It is a consulting business that specializes in scaling and growing and equipping small businesses as they find themselves managing through ever-changing environments of business. She has successfully done this for many years, and she's now being inspired to tailor and focus that to minority communities, and is also brewing some pretty cool things to develop women-owned businesses as well. I was drawn to share this conversation with you because a lot of times we think about the big business leader, and we do not give as much floor of conversation to what it takes to start as a small business and to scale as a small business, much less to thrive and even survive as a small business. This is really the meat of the conversation that I have with Cotrenia. I would say in one simple word, in my conversation with her, it takes heart. And she really brings forth all of the passion and all of the heart in this conversation that she shares with us. So many nuggets here, you guys. So grab your paper, grab your pen. As usual, enjoy Proven Not Perfect. Cotrenia Hood. Good morning, Cotrenia. How are you?
Good morning. I am well. How are you?
I'm doing good on this Saturday morning. This is a treat to be able to see your sunshiny face. And, I was just starting to just process our conversation and prepare for our conversation. And I'd like to acknowledge some element about the guests that I have that really strikes me as a unique quality and gift of them, right? And I landed for you on your touch. And so what do I mean by touch? You are one of those people that when you are in your presence, you lock in, and it's not a physical thing, but it's an acknowledgement that you see me.
Yeah.
And I am your attention no matter what is going on around. Girl, that's a gift.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Have you heard that before?
I have. I've heard that before. And I think that when I learned that it was a gift, because, God gives you gifts very young and you really don't have a great appreciation for them until you see his glory manifested in them. And so when I was very young, people would be like, "You're a great listener." And I thought, "Oh, that's nice." And I'm intentional about paying attention and being present in the moment that I'm with that individual. And so sometimes I get lost in that space. So people will say, "I called you." And I'm like, "I know, but I was at lunch or dinner or listening to a story with my children. And I just wanted to be present with that person." I think that the connection that we have with people, that is God ordained, right? There's so many people that pass through our lives, but when you have someone in your life that was put in your life for that season to do something big together, or even something just significant, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. I'm intentional about those moments with that individual.
Yes. Oh my God. Have you always been that way? Like, tell me, go back to Cotrenia, the young girl. And, you know, was there something, was there a quality that you had at that point, or was there a trigger to make you know how important it is to be present and in place, right? I often find that as we grow and evolve and appreciate the unique gifts that we have, there was something pivotal early on. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
So I think, I would say that it didn't happen as a little girl. Like I did not notice it as a child. Um, Something that we share is that we're both from Louisiana,
Yeah.
and I stayed a little bit longer than you did, and so I was there during Katrina.
Mm,
And if I had to pinpoint a moment in time
wow.
where this gift was honed in, it was in that moment.
Wow.
Um,
Ooh,
we had no power, no water, no communications. I got to know neighbors that I just waved at on the way to the house and from the house and knew their names, but very little about their lives and their stories. And when the world goes quiet, and the nights are extremely dark without any power. When you are dependent on the person that's right next to you that you know very little about, to get ice and to get water and to help you to clean your yard and to give you resources, when it really becomes community, it was in that moment that I really honed in on how important it is to be present and to love on those who you love and who love you, and to not miss anything. I think tragedy does that for us as humans. It reminds us of how precious life is and how precious, community is. And so I think that was probably, if I had to say a defining moment, it was there.
So, yes, you are my Louisiana girl sister. And I tell you, we take it up a notch when we say we from the Big Easy too, right?
Okay.
It just is. And I'll tell you, there's some traits just even from my upbringing and cultural
Mhm.
experiences that I believe helped me to be a better business person,
Yeah.
eventual business leader. And I think
Mhm.
it's tying right into something that you're saying. Part of the upbringing is fellowship with others,
Yeah.
is community, is finding joy through
Mhm.
stuff, right?
Mhm. Indeed.
Girl, I can think of memories growing up. Tell me if this resonates. Where as I look back at it, something actually good wasn't happening in our family system, but it turned into a party. Like I
Indeed.
can remember happy, sad moments where, on the one hand, there might have been, I don't know, tears, stress. But on the other hand, I remember music and laughter
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
dance.
Uh-huh.
I don't think most people can say that.
No, 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 no. And I think, living there, it is your norm, right? So you don't really appreciate it till you move, right? And you leave that area and you have different experiences and you go back home and you're like, oh my God, this place is amazing. It truly is a melting pot of culture.
Yes.
And one of the things that I think brought that home back to the celebration, even in sad times or hard times. When Richard and I got married, Richard, my husband, and I got married, we had a second line.
Yes.
And so my in-laws who are from DC were like, what's the second line and
Yeah,
how does
you know
that
you're
work?
gonna have to explain it because people are listening to us like, okay, pardon me, I'm from Ghana and I have no idea what you're talking about.
idea. So the second line is similar to a parade. It
Yeah,
is a march
yeah,
from the beginning destination to the end, right? From one end to the other. And in this second line or this celebration, this parade, are all the people who were apart from the beginning to the end.
yeah.
And so second lines are celebrated during glorious times like weddings, right? From the with the people who were with you from the first day that you met, and then along that journey to the moment that you were married.
Yeah.
And it happens also at funerals
Yeah.
with the people who were there with you from the first day that you came into this earth to
Mm.
your last. And
Yes.
it's a celebration of life in
Mm.
general,
Girl,
the
yeah.
beginning, the end, the middle, life in general. And
Yeah.
so people dance, and there's music, and there is
Costume.
culture and
Yes.
costume.
Mm.
It's a beautiful, there are umbrellas and
Yeah.
carousels that are, a part of this tradition.
Yeah.
Um, but it is a beautiful part of our culture. And I think if there was one thing that reminds me of that, what you were saying about how even in hard times, we celebrated or we built community. The
Yes.
second line is probably the greatest definition of that for me.
Yeah. But now I'm going to take us all the way home to why I wanted to talk to you, because you have found great passion in
Mhm.
community of business, in particular small business.
Yes.
And, when I met you, I was very much still in the corporate, multi-billion dollar mindset, right? And you were in this mindset of scaling and
Mhm.
creating and access and new potential and possibilities, from a nugget of a seed to something that was, glorious and so much bigger than dreamed, right? And I love that, and I was drawn to that because it was such a different point of entry than where I had grown up, right? In my own business background.
Mhm.
Tell me what drew your heart and your passion to small business,
Mhm.
and scaling businesses and creating and incubating businesses from inception.
So, it kind of follows in line with our conversation around home. The hurricane happens. I'm working for a Fortune 500 company. I am traveling all over the state of Louisiana, working in corporate. I lived on the North Shore. I commuted into the city every day. I had my favorite coffee shop, the boutique that I love to purchase things from. But I really didn't have a connection to the suburb because I was only really there on the weekend. I was in the city most of the weekday. And so the hurricane comes, it blows away my territory. The company that I'm working for is like, we're going to have to move you guys. It's been 6 months. It's not come back. We need to move you to another territory. And so they offered to move me to Arkansas. And as much as I love Arkansas, it was not home.
Yeah.
So I decided this is going to be a transition point for me. And so we had our first female mayor in the city where I lived, and she and I collaborated on some projects. And she said, come into the city and help me to communicate what's going on right now.
Mm.
Again, we had just radios, no television, no ways of really getting to the people what they needed to hear from the city. And so we developed a plan. We cleaned out the downtown park, one of the main parks in the town. And so we got all the debris out, and we told people, come down on Fridays and we'll feed you. We'll have hot dogs and hamburgers and live music or something. And we'll tell them about where to put the refrigerator and where to get information from FEMA or Red Cross, where there was Wi-Fi so that they could get access to certain things. And so we started this process. And in that, I was like, well, how are we going to feed these people? So I went to the small businesses, the restaurants in the town, and I said, okay, you have no power or you're running on a generator. Can we bring in your restaurant and make it mobile into the park? And so that began this exercise of working with small businesses. We developed a 501c3 so that we could get them back some resources. And so it went from restaurants to small businesses, and we started to sell wares. Then we had artists, and of course, just like you would imagine in Louisiana, it turned into a celebration.
Of course. Just because it was Monday and we had red beans and rice. I don't know.
Exactly, exactly. And so people came to the park and it was an oasis. It was actually one of the few places in that town that looked like it did before Katrina. And we were intentional about that. And
Mm.
so these small businesses came in and they became a part of this celebration of this community. And at that moment, just hearing their stories and sitting down, because in tragedy, you have to be empathetic. You have to really listen and be present. And again, back to that gift, I felt the need to be there for them. And
Mm.
so I listened to their stories, where it began, how they got to where they are, their heartaches that were part of that time, and try to figure out ways that I could help and the city could help. That transitioned into me working for the Chamber of Commerce there in economic development. And again, sleepy town and North Shore. And I was there probably 6 months, and we got a phone call from Halliburton, one of the big oil companies, and they
Yes.
said, we need 20,000 square feet. We want to move our corporate offices to the North Shore to higher, drier land.
Mm.
And we had none of that because it was a suburb. And so I brought together some builders and some real estate agents and a couple of other people in construction. And I said, what are we going to do? And overnight, that town became a metropolitan.
Jeez.
And we went from, I think, one McDonald's and a Taco Bell and a bunch of boutique restaurants to
Thriving
overpassing
now.
and suburbs with gated communities and things that,
Yep.
didn't exist before. Every time I go back to visit my parents, I'm like, oh my God, this place is busier. The traffic is heavier. Um, and I got to be a part of that very, beginning story of rebuilding a community. And so that's where my passion began in that journey of, learning their stories and wanting to help and wanting to take something that seemingly felt impossible for an entrepreneur
Mm.
and make that thing a reality. Help them to strategize around, how do I bring my dream to fruition? How do I take this failure or this tragedy and learn from it and
Mm.
build better? And that's where I started in this journey with entrepreneurs.
I hear heart of service
Yeah.
um, just as much as the economic development piece, because, you know, it's one thing to be business minded and really geared toward turning on, profit and
Mm-hmm.
minimizing loss and
Mm-hmm.
managing systems that, can scale and grow.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that being the driver because that's the gift of some. But what I'm hearing in your story has so much heart. Like
Yeah.
that is the outcome for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Indeed.
and it starts with the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so, so, so cool. So how have you found being a woman in business now that you own your own consulting business for how many years now?
8. It's
Eight
been eight
years now.
years.
So
Yeah.
you've weathered several storms, right?
Oh my
Several
gosh.
post recessions, pre recessions, recessions, depressions.
Pandemics.
Yeah, girl, you've done it all. And
Mm.
I can imagine, again, with this heart that you have for the service that you're doing and offering,
Yeah.
you've probably seen your clients go through it. So how do you stay centered in
Yeah.
advising others when there's so much, ambiguity in the
Mhm.
seasons that you've led through?
Mhm. So I think, one of the things, Chandra, that I try to do is really, again, be present, as transition happens. And even when it doesn't feel good, I am always saying, okay, what is there to learn from here, from this? What am I supposed to take away from this moment? Because even though it's not where I want to be or where I think I should be, I mean, I was, settled in corporate. I was doing well. I was, rising in the company. I felt like, this was going to be the trajectory for me for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And then the storm came in and changed that.
Mm.
And so then when I moved to Naples, and started to work for, I was consulting for the Naples Chamber here in Florida.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with the CEO at the time, and the Economic Development Council was closing with the county, and the chamber
Wow.
was taking it over. And he said, Katrina, would you be interested in coming in and doing, helping me with this project? And it took a minute, but then it registered that you've been here before,
Yeah.
that you've built an economic development council consortium for a chamber of commerce before, and you started from scratch. And so, when you are challenged, when you get to another level, when another door opens, when you enter another room, you always step into that space with some level of trepidation, a little
Girl,
bit of
talk about
fear,
it.
little bit of anxiety. And so if you can be still long enough, you can hear the connection, you can hear the voice of saying, this is exactly where I want you right now. Be
Amen.
still, be obedient, walk in the gift that you have, and watch all of this come together. So it starts to come together, and I see this happening, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I am back where I started. And I don't know how that happened.
More lessons
Um,
to learn.
exactly. And so did that with the chamber for 7 years, and then decided, you know what? I really miss working. It kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as they do. I said, I really miss working with small businesses. I really miss the connection with the entrepreneur. We were brushstroking everything. But when you're a big engine, that has to happen, right? And we understand that from corporate. And so I wanted to get back to the soup and nuts of what we did and really fueling audacity in entrepreneurs. And so I said, I'm going to step out and do this on my own. Um, and so I started this journey, and I said, this is scary again. And I'm not quite sure, if this is where I'm supposed to be or what I'm doing. And I'm hesitating and I'm second guessing. And and then we hit a recession, and I'm like, oh my God, businesses are closing and people are losing and times are hard, and um, real estate is crashing, and I'm now starting a business in the middle of this chaos.
Mm,
And I thought, okay, you've been here before.
mm.
This is where you thrive. So what can you do to make a difference?
Wow.
How can you help those businesses? How can you bring in resources? And so it started very slow and relational, and it just kept building from there. And my passion never waned. I felt like I work better in crisis. Now, I want to say that I don't need any more because
Ah,
pandemic,
for the
and
record.
for the record, pandemic and Ian, which was the last storm that came through our region, I'm good for the rest of my life, Lord. I'm ready. I'm good. I can just deal right here on this flat land. Um, but but it does give a level of assurance and peace that I can bring into an entrepreneur's journey to say, I have seen it all.
Mm,
I have seen the worst of the worst. I have seen businesses close and reopen. I've seen them collapse. I've seen them have to fire their entire workforce, and have to rebuild from there.
mm,
I've seen entrepreneurs have to mortgage their homes and
yeah.
sell everything they have
Mm,
to save, to salvage a dream that they know they were designed to do.
mm,
And so, in all of that, I am able to speak with confidence that if you are living on purpose, that if you're making a difference,
mhm,
that if it's not all about you and about money,
mhm,
but you know that you are a change agent, that you're a disruptor, that you are bringing something powerful to the marketplace,
mhm.
even if it's just something small to you, but it's powerful to many, then everything you need will follow. I really,
Girl, I got chills.
um,
Seriously, because I think
yeah.
what you just said just breaks down so many truths of being and living in your passion. And
Mhm.
I know you didn't quote exactly scripture, but I think there was so much scripture in what you just said. When you are still and you are doing things from the place of heart, all
Mhm.
the accoutrements that you think you need, they come.
They
Um,
come.
that's a hard one to get your head around, especially when you feel that you're transitioning. No, not right word. Growing. Growing
Mhm.
beyond the material mindset of get mine, grow the thing because, just because I was asked to do the thing, right? And you start to grow to a place where impact is a word that resonates for you,
Mhm.
fit is a word that resonates for you, peace is
Mhm.
a word that
Mhm.
resonates for you. When we get to that place, in particular as women, girl,
Yeah.
it's talk
Mhm.
about fire time. What?
Indeed. Indeed.
What?
Yeah. I mean, it's not, I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, right? Because it's not. I wish, sometimes I feel like we, can be pie in the sky,
Mhm.
right? Like it'll be okay. And, you know, there's work involved, right? So it's not just that I really love what I do and that I really think that I'm making a difference, but we have to put in the work as well, right? So I don't want to make it
Then
seem
you
like
can't
it's,
just sit and manifest it.
he can be an expedient God, but faith without works is dead. And so we have to
That
be
part.
very, very mindful that when we are living on purpose and we're doing what we know that we're supposed to do, that it requires a level of work. It requires a level of education and information. And I don't mean formal, by the way, I'm saying just continual lifelong learner, that I'm absorbing information, that I'm absorbing things from people around me who would traditionally be a mentor or an educator, and then some people who would not be traditionally a mentor and educator. We sometimes don't even look at we don't think that we could learn from our lowest employee
Amen.
or from that one-time customer because we're thinking on the bigger scale, right? It's our executive team that we paid all this money to that will come in and make a difference, that will come in and change. And we hope that that's the case. But in the same instance, there are some people who are on the ground, boots on the ground in our organizations, that if we just stop long enough, stop talking, stop instructing, stop building more processes, and just listen to what they have to say,
Mm.
we learn probably more than we could in any MBA program. So
Mm.
I'm very thoughtful about being a lifelong and being willing to do the work and learn as I do that. So that's one of the things that I push really hard is please don't overcomplicate because we have a tendency to do that as well. And
Girl.
I do a lot of process, right? As women,
Yes.
we're like, well, we're thinking about this and we're analyzing this and what if this and we have to bring together everybody. We can't leave anybody out. And so we have all these things that make us very powerful in the marketplace, but it also can be a hindrance to growth. And
Absolutely.
so just stepping back from overanalyzing, from doubt, from
Mm.
thinking that I don't have enough or resources, network, time, as women, we can do that. The kids are still young. I still have all of this to do. And, I still I would like to get my MBA. There's so many reasons why
Yeah.
we don't move, we get paralyzed. And so I'm constantly conscious of encouraging us as women, myself included, um, just to be in the moment,
Mm.
to be a lifelong learner, and to understand that you put in the work, you've done that already, right? You've studied, you've you're at the top of your game. You've done so, trust it.
Mm,
Trust where you are.
mm,
Trust what you're doing.
mm.
And the rest will come. The rest will come.
Girl, there is so much power packed in that that I can't even say anything but mic dropped. I wrote a book, Proven Not Perfect. Seven Truths of a Corporate Executive Mommy Wife Christian, and it really is the launch pad for the podcast.
Mhm.
Um, for me, it was an acknowledgement at a point in time that this quest for perfection was ridiculous, and it was a complete misunderstanding, quite frankly,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
growing up in a high achieving, driven household.
Mhm.
That there was ever an expectation for me to get to some proverbial top, right? There was only an expectation that I was provided all the tools to be
Mhm.
successful and good at all of the missions that I would be called to, right? And that's
Right.
huge and humbling. Did you ever yourself in your journey deal with this drive and quest for ambition that
Mm.
got in the way of you realizing that you were ever only intended to be human?
Yes. I would say I spent the first half of my career there. I again, parents who set me up for success, gave me every opportunity, made all kinds of sacrifices for me to travel the world and learn about culture and people and all these wonderful things. And so I felt this drive to, number one, repay them for the sacrifices, right? I had to be successful. It had to work. I had to be the top of my class. I had to, always overachieve.
Mm-hmm.
And it never was really about my name on a wall or in a newspaper or in a magazine. It really was driven by, I know the sacrifices that were made to get me here. And then when I got into the environment, I was like, now I know the women who came before me.
Yeah.
Or I realized I am the first and I have a responsibility to the women who will come after me.
Yeah.
And so as I was walking through that journey and being driven by all of these outside factors, right?
Heavy, right? It's
It's it's really heavy. And but at some point, right, you get to a level of maturity and you realize that 90% of that is self imposed, that my parents really did not.
they didn't mean that.
Did not. And I really, I think I had that conversation with my father. I was just like, da, 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 da. He's like, oh, I was proud when you walked across the stage in high school graduation. Like,
Girl,
what are
I
you
had the
talking?
same conversation with my dad in 2010. It
Yeah.
blew my mind. And I
Mm.
was a grown woman, mom of three, right?
Yes, yes,
And I'm
yes.
talking about but, and he's like, well, hang on here.
Mm.
Get me at hello with a
Yeah,
degree in finance from Loyola. Hello? The
you were
rest,
good.
the Northwestern, all the other things, the great companies. Okay, great. But I wanted you to just be financially safe,
Secure. Mhm.
secure, sound,
Mhm.
faithful,
Mhm.
good, kind.
Mhm. Yes, that.
Dang, I blew past all of that a long time ago, and
All of it.
I'm tired.
All of it. And it's like they're and then, in addition to our family, you think about, like you'll see a t-shirt that says, I am my ancestors' wildest dream, right? And the level of, whew, it's so surreal, right? It's so powerful when you think about just all the sacrifices were made so that I could be in this place, in this
Yes.
moment, right? But they did not want me stressing there. They
Yeah.
want me existing there. They wanted me happy there. right? They wanted me to feel like I belong there.
Katrina, I'm gonna be honest, those are new messages, in particular for the minority community. And I know that it's not just Black American, because I
No.
talk to my Asian heritage friends, my
Mm,
Hispanic friends. I'm gonna say it lives. I talk to my women friends, right? Who
yes.
I will tell you, I feel like any minority classified, we have somehow this notion of the weight of responsibility to suffrage ahead, right? And I'm not saying that that is not a wonderful reason to push for more and to maintain
Right.
the drive, but there's
Right.
this fine line between it being healthy and it being
Mhm.
unhealthy. And I think
Mhm.
that's what you're talking about.
I am. I am certainly. And back to like even women in business saying, you and I have experienced first, enough times that we understand how powerful that can be, right? That responsibility for us. And so um, it's difficult not to feel the weight of there are women who will come behind me, but and so I owe them a responsibility to be exceptional, right? To break every mold, to leave this mark so that the next woman doesn't have to live in my shadow of something negative or something that I didn't make or some opportunity or door I didn't open. And I had a mentee once who said to me, I was saying, this is a great, responsibility. I want you to, have the access to this and that and the other. And again, she said, Miss Katrina, all that's great, but just to see you in that room is enough.
Mm.
Just to know that you're in the boardroom is enough. Like, I don't need to know the fights that you have to fight, or you don't even have to push past that space. That is the next step for me. And as young people, that's what they're looking. I mean, we are forecasting in middle age well into, the next 50 years. But
Yes.
at 20 and 30, they're just like, what's next? And
Yeah.
so I'm all stressed about how am I forging enough? And they're just excited that you're in the room, that
Yes.
you've already gotten there. And that means that not only I'll get past that, like, they're young, they're ambitious, the sky is the limit, they can never be harmed, our beautiful 20s, right? We are, fearless in our 20s. And so they just want to know that it can be done. And that's all. Because I'm ready to not only do it, I want your job and I'm going to be your boss someday.
That's
And I'm like,
right.
yes, girl, do that.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I tell you what, I could talk to you for ever and ever, but it is Saturday and I will choose not to take all of your time. Katrina, I know that you are up to some really interesting things. Again, getting back at a heart of service,
Yes.
and in particular, your passion for women and our leadership journey in business, and all the things. What's to come for Still Blue? Can you give us a little teaser to anything that's on your mind or coming forth?
Yes, yes. So I am really focused in minority communities at this point. Um, I feel like there is a lot of information, resources, and education that needs to happen in those communities. And I feel like I sense that as America continues to brown, that as the rise of women has begun, um, that we are non-traditional in the capitalistic society, and we have to catch up really fast in order to make an impact, right? In order to take the roles that we have and not continue with the status quo, because the reason I believe that we are preordained, that this is happening, right? The brown of America. And I don't mean that America will be brown, but statistically, we are seeing that happen.
Mhm.
when we think of the younger generations, we think of individuals who have, these younger people are mixed race by 30% more than we were in our generation. And so, as America browns, as women rise, as America grays, because now a lot of young people aren't having children, right? So there's so much that dynamics that are happening in our new world. I want to make sure that we don't lose step, that we don't lose place, that we don't lose resources and access. So this is where I'm charged at. This is the season that Steel Blue is in. And so I am hosting a conference for women in business to escalate that education and information around innovation, around leadership, around finances. We played with dolls, and so we didn't have as much access to understanding. And even in families that I found that are entrepreneurial, the daughter worked in the administrative side, marketing side, communication side, HR side, but not in the actual internals of how the business is run. So this is what I'm working on, is in minority communities, where it be women or people of color or people with disabilities or veteran services, all of those, I am looking for opportunities to be of help and be of service.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, I believe that we've only tipped the iceberg. I know that you're up to stuff, cooking up more.
Yeah.
Follow Steel Blue on LinkedIn. Follow Cotrenia Hood on LinkedIn. Instagram handle Cotrenia at Cotrenia Hood.
It's
And
at Steel Blue.
at Steel Blue, at Steel Blue. So,
Yeah.
definitely look out, check her out. If you're still building your card for the year of places you want to be, spaces you want to inhabit, I think if you follow her, you'll hear some more cool things that as she unfolds. So, yeah, well, this has been a joy and a treat, and I love you
Indeed.
so much. I'm so proud of you, and
Yeah.
you are my sister, and
Thank you.
that's just
You
it.
are.
Your stuff. All right, love you. Bye.
Thank you.